Welcome, everyone. Today, let's embark on a delightful journey to the enchanting land of Iceland. Iceland is a country that feels almost otherworldly. Tucked away in the North Atlantic Ocean between Greenland and Norway, this island nation is famous for its dramatic landscapes, volcanic energy, and rich cultural traditions. Though it has a population of only about 380,000 people, Iceland punches far above its weight when it comes to global fascination. Travelers come from all over the world to witness the dazzling northern lights, soak in steaming hot springs, hike across glaciers, and experience the charm of Reykjavik, one of the world's most vibrant small capitals. But Iceland is more than just a bucket list destination. It's a place full of surprises, quirks, and stories that make it unlike anywhere else on Earth. From the absence of mosquitoes to a centuries-old parliament, from sheep that outnumber humans to a national obsession with books, Iceland blends the mythical and the practical in delightful ways. Its people are deeply connected to the land, balancing ancient traditions with modern innovation, and living in harmony with a landscape that is as challenging as it is breathtaking. In this article, we'll explore 10 fun facts about Iceland that reveal what makes this country so unique. These aren't just trivia points. Each fact opens a window into Iceland's history, culture, environment, and way of life. Whether you're planning your first trip or simply curious about this extraordinary nation, these insights will help you appreciate why Iceland continues to capture the imagination of so many. So, grab a warm drink. Picture yourself under the dancing glow of the northern lights or the endless sunshine of summer, and join us on a journey through Iceland's quirks and wonders. Point 1. Iceland has no mosquitoes. One of the most surprising things about Iceland is that it's entirely free of mosquitoes. For many travelers, this comes as a relief after all. These tiny insects are often the bane of summer vacations around the world. But how is it that Iceland has managed to avoid them? The answer lies in its unique climate and geography. Mosquitoes thrive in environments where standing water remains relatively stable, and temperatures are consistent enough for their life cycle to progress uninterrupted. Iceland, however, offers the exact opposite conditions. Its climate is characterized by frequent shifts between warm and cold spells, even within the same week. This volatility disrupts the breeding cycle of mosquitoes, as larvae cannot mature properly when water sources freeze or temperatures drop suddenly. Additionally, Iceland's soils are volcanic and porous, which means there aren't many stagnant pools of water where mosquito populations could flourish. Instead, water drains quickly, further reducing suitable breeding grounds. Interestingly, scientists have conducted studies to determine whether mosquitoes could eventually establish themselves in Iceland as climate change continues to alter global weather patterns. So far, the results suggest that the insects remain unable to sustain a population there. For Icelanders, this absence is more than just a convenience. It's a point of national pride. Many locals enjoy joking that Iceland's lack of mosquitoes is one of the best reasons to live there. Visitors often find it refreshing to hike through mossy lava fields, soak in geothermal hot springs, or explore the countryside without needing insect repellent. The absence of mosquitoes also impacts Iceland's wildlife ecosystem. While mosquitoes serve as a food source for birds and amphibians in many other countries, Iceland's bird species and aquatic life rely on different insects for sustenance. This has contributed to the evolution of a slightly different ecological balance compared to other northern nations. So while Iceland's pristine landscapes and rugged natural beauty attract tourists from around the globe, the fact that you'll never hear the buzzing of a mosquito during a midnight summer hike makes the experience even more magical. 2. Iceland runs almost entirely on renewable energy. When people think of Iceland, images of volcanoes, geysers, and hot springs often come to mind. But these natural features aren't just scenic wonders, they are also the foundation of Iceland's energy independence. Today, Iceland is one of the only countries in the world that generates nearly 100% of its electricity and heating from renewable sources. This achievement makes the nation a global leader in sustainability and a model for countries looking to reduce dependence on fossil fuels. The main sources of Iceland's energy are geothermal and hydropower. Geothermal energy comes from the heat stored beneath the Earth's crust, which Iceland has in abundance thanks to its position on the mid-Atlantic ridge, where tectonic plates meet and volcanic activity is common. Icelanders have harnessed this heat to provide affordable and sustainable energy to nearly every household. Hot water from geothermal wells is piped directly into homes, businesses, and swimming pools, making heating costs in Iceland some of the lowest in Europe. Even sidewalks and parking lots in Reykjavik are heated during winter using this technology, which helps prevent snow and ice buildup. Hydropower, on the other hand, takes advantage of Iceland's abundant rivers and glacial runoff. With plentiful rainfall and melting glaciers feeding into fast-moving rivers, hydropower plants generate vast amounts of clean electricity. Together, geothermal and hydropower account for more than 99% of Iceland's electricity production. The environmental benefits are immense, but there's also an economic advantage. Cheap renewable energy has made Iceland an attractive destination for energy-intensive industries like aluminum smelting and data centers. While these industries raise some environmental concerns, they have also provided jobs and boosted the economy. For everyday Icelanders, this commitment to renewable energy is woven into the culture. Hot spring bathing is a beloved pastime, not just for relaxation, but as a reminder of how closely daily life is tied to the Earth's geothermal forces. Tourists often marvel at the idea that the steam rising from geysers and the bubbling mud pools are not only scenic attractions, but also part of the invisible network keeping Iceland warm and as climate change pushes more countries to rethink their energy strategies, Iceland stands as an inspiring example of what's possible when natural resources are harnessed responsibly. 3. Iceland has more sheep than people. If you drive through Iceland's countryside, you'll quickly notice a recurring theme: sheep, sheep, and more sheep. With a population of about 380,000 people, but nearly 800,000 sheep, Iceland is home to more sheep than humans. These fluffy animals are not just part of the scenery. They play a crucial role in Iceland's culture, cuisine, and economy. The Icelandic sheep is a unique breed that has remained relatively unchanged since it was first brought over by Norse settlers more than 1,000 years ago. Isolated from other breeds for centuries, these sheep are hardy and well-suited to Iceland's challenging climate. They are raised primarily for meat, wool, and milk, all of which form important parts of Icelandic tradition. Lamb is considered a national dish, often roasted with herbs or slow-cooked in stews. And Icelandic wool is famous worldwide for its warmth and durability. The traditional lopapeysa, a hand-knitted wool sweater with a circular yoke design, is made from Icelandic wool and has become an iconic symbol of the country. During the summer months, sheep are released into the highlands to roam freely. This practice, known as summer grazing, allows the animals to feed on fresh grass and herbs in the wild. In September, communities come together for a large-scale roundup called Geysir. Farmers, locals, and even tourists join forces to herd the sheep back into enclosures. This event is not only practical, but also a festive occasion filled with music, food, and camaraderie. Sheep farming has deep historical significance in Iceland. For centuries, sheep provided vital resources for survival, from warm clothing to nourishing food. Even today, despite modernization, sheep farming continues to be a cornerstone of rural life. The abundance of sheep also means that Icelandic cuisine is heavily influenced by lamb, whether smoked, cured, or stewed. Visitors often find themselves sampling lamb soup after a long day of sightseeing, a dish that perfectly captures the connection between Icelandic culture and its sheep. Beyond their practical value, sheep have also shaped Iceland's landscape. Overgrazing by sheep has contributed to soil erosion in some areas, but conservation efforts are now underway to balance farming with ecological preservation. The sight of sheep wandering freely across green hillsides, waterfalls, and lava fields is so quintessentially Icelandic that many travelers find it just as memorable as glaciers or geysers. 4. Iceland has no last names, at least not in the traditional sense. One of the most fascinating cultural quirks in Iceland is its naming system. Unlike most countries where family surnames are passed down from generation to generation, Iceland follows a patronymic, or occasionally matronymic, system. This means that a person's last name is usually derived from their father's first name, with the suffix son for sons and dottir for daughters. For example, if a man named John has a son named Olafur, the child's full name will be Olafur Johnson, literally meaning Olafur, son of John. If John has a daughter named Katrin, her name will be Katrin Johnsdottir, or Katrin, daughter of John. As a result, siblings may technically have the same last name, but families do not share a fixed surname across generations. This tradition dates back to the Viking Age and has remained largely intact in Iceland. In fact, the government strictly regulates naming conventions. Iceland has a naming committee that approves new names to ensure they conform to Icelandic grammar and cultural tradition. This means not all names from abroad are allowed. If a name doesn't fit the rules of the Icelandic language, it might be rejected. The patronymic system also shapes how people interact socially. In Iceland, people are usually addressed by their first names, even in formal settings. Teachers call students by their first names, and employees often address their bosses in the same way. Even the president of Iceland is referred to casually by their first name. This contributes to a culture that feels egalitarian and informal compared to many other nations. Tourists often find this system both charming and confusing. Looking up someone in the phone book, for instance, means searching alphabetically by first name rather than last. It's a reminder of how Iceland's isolation and deep connection to its Viking roots have preserved traditions that might seem unusual elsewhere. 5. Iceland is one of the safest countries in the world. Crime rates in Iceland are extraordinarily low, making it one of the safest countries to visit or live in. In fact, Iceland often ranks at the very top of the Global Peace Index, a measure that evaluates countries on levels of violence, political stability, and military involvement. For tourists, this means you can walk around Reykjavik late at night, or hike through remote landscapes with very little concern for personal safety. There are several reasons behind Iceland's peacefulness. For one, the country has a small population of around 380,000 people, which creates a strong sense of community and accountability. Crime is difficult to hide in such a close-knit society. Iceland also has very high levels of social trust, with neighbors and strangers alike often helping each other in times of need. Another factor is the country's relatively small gap between rich and poor. While no society is without economic inequality, Iceland has a strong welfare system, access to health care, and a high standard of living. This reduces some of the social pressures that can lead to crime in other nations. Even Iceland's police force is unique. Officers do not carry guns as part of their standard equipment. Instead, they rely on de-escalation and non-violent methods. Violent crimes, such as murder, are exceedingly rare, often making international news simply because they happen so infrequently. Most reported crimes are related to petty theft or minor drug offenses, and even those are minimal compared to global averages. Tourists often marvel at little details that highlight Iceland's safety. Parents sometimes leave their strollers, complete with sleeping babies outside cafes, while they enjoy a coffee inside, a practice that would raise eyebrows in most other countries. Lost wallets and phones are frequently returned, often within hours. Of course, the greatest dangers in Iceland are not from people, but from nature. Tourists are far more likely to get into trouble by underestimating the power of Iceland's waves, glaciers, or unpredictable weather. But as far as crime is concerned, Iceland remains a shining example of what a peaceful society can look like. 6. Iceland is home to the world's oldest parliament. Iceland has a deep-rooted history of democracy that goes back more than 1,000 years. The country's parliament, known as the Althing Alþingi in Icelandic, was founded in 930 AD, making it the oldest surviving parliament in the world. The Althing originally met in a natural amphitheater at Thingvellir National Park, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Here, Viking chieftains and settlers gathered every summer to discuss laws, resolve disputes, and make decisions for the community. The setting was symbolic. Thingvellir lies in a rift valley created by the separation of the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates, a dramatic landscape that underscored the importance of the assembly. The gatherings were not only political, but also social events. Families traveled from across the island, setting up temporary camps while business was conducted. Merchants traded goods, poets recited sagas, and matches were made between young people. In many ways, the Althing served as both a parliament and a cultural festival, reflecting the communal spirit of early Icelandic society. Over the centuries, Iceland fell under the rule of Norway and later Denmark, but the tradition of the Althing continued in some form. In 1845, the parliament was re-established in Reykjavik, and since then it has evolved into a modern legislative body. Today, the Althing operates much like other parliamentary systems, with elected representatives making laws and overseeing government functions. The endurance of the Althing is a point of pride for Icelanders. It represents not only the nation's independence, but also its long-standing commitment to consensus and democracy. Visitors to Thingvellir can still see the historic Law Rock, where chieftains once stood to proclaim laws and judgments. Walking among the cliffs and plains of the old assembly site, it's easy to imagine the echoes of Viking voices carrying across the landscape, reminding us of Iceland's remarkable role in shaping democratic traditions long before they became widespread in Europe. 7. You can see the northern lights and the midnight sun. Few places on Earth offer such dramatic natural light phenomena as Iceland. Depending on the season, visitors can experience two of nature's greatest shows: the Aurora Borealis northern lights in winter and the midnight sun in summer. The northern lights occur when charged particles from the sun interact with Earth's magnetic field, creating colorful displays in the night sky. Iceland's location near the Arctic Circle makes it an ideal viewing spot. From late August to mid-April, the long, dark nights provide the perfect backdrop for the dancing lights. Shades of green, pink, purple, and even red swirl across the heavens, often leaving spectators speechless. While sightings are never guaranteed, many visitors plan entire trips around chasing the aurora. On the other hand, the midnight sun offers a completely opposite but equally magical experience. From late May to late July, the sun barely sets in northern Iceland, creating days that seem endless. Even in Reykjavik, nights are incredibly short, and twilight often lasts until sunrise. This natural phenomenon allows for unusual activities like golfing at midnight, hiking long into the night, or simply enjoying the surreal feeling of walking outside at 2 a.m. in broad daylight. Both phenomena have influenced Icelandic culture and folklore. In ancient times, the northern lights were thought to be reflections from the shields of Valkyries or the spirits of the dead, traveling to the afterlife. Meanwhile, the midnight sun was celebrated for giving farmers extra daylight during crucial growing months. For travelers, the duality of Iceland's skies is one of the most compelling reasons to visit. Whether you're standing on a glacier watching green lights ripple above you, or sipping coffee on a sunlit balcony at midnight in June, Iceland reminds you that time, light, and nature follow a rhythm entirely their own in this land of extremes. 8. Iceland is a land of fire and ice. The nickname, Land of Fire and Ice, perfectly captures Iceland's dramatic Nowhere else in the world do you find such a striking combination of glaciers, volcanoes, geysers, and lava fields, often within just a short drive of one another. Iceland sits directly on the mid-Atlantic ridge, where the North American and Eurasian tectonic plates meet. This makes it one of the most volcanically active regions on Earth. The island is dotted with around 130 volcanic mountains, and eruptions occur fairly regularly, sometimes once a decade. The 2010 eruption of Vatnajökull famously disrupted air travel across Europe, highlighting the global impact of Iceland's fiery geology. At the same time, glaciers cover about 11% of Iceland's surface, including Vatnajökull, the largest glacier in Europe. These massive ice sheets feed rivers, carve valleys, and create stunning waterfalls. Glaciers and volcanoes together have shaped Iceland's landscape into a dramatic mosaic of contrasts: black sand beaches against blue icebergs, steaming geothermal pools beside snow-covered peaks. These natural extremes also shape Iceland's identity. Hot springs like the Blue Lagoon are a direct result of volcanic activity, offering warmth and healing minerals in an otherwise chilly climate. Glaciers, meanwhile, attract adventurers from around the world who come to hike ice caves, climb frozen ridges, or snowmobile across vast icy expanses. The tension between fire and ice is more than just physical. It's symbolic of Iceland itself. This is a country that thrives on contrasts: isolation and connection, tradition and modernity, darkness and light. Standing on a volcanic crater while looking out toward a glacier in the distance, visitors often realize that Iceland embodies balance through extremes. 9. Elves and hidden people are taken seriously. In Iceland, folklore is alive and well, especially when it comes to elves and the so-called hidden people, Huldufolk. Surveys show that while not everyone in Iceland literally believes in elves, many people remain open to the possibility. More importantly, respect for these mythical beings plays a role in daily life and even in construction planning. According to Icelandic folklore, hidden people live in rocks, hills, and lava fields, invisible to human eyes unless they choose to reveal themselves. They are often described as resembling humans, but living parallel lives in their own magical communities. Stories abound of people who encountered elves, whether through dreams, visions, or unexplained happenings. This belief has tangible effects. Road construction projects have been rerouted to avoid disturbing rocks said to be elf dwellings. Some Icelanders leave offerings near certain boulders or landscape features out of respect. Tourists often find guided elf walks in Reykjavik or smaller towns, where storytellers recount local legends tied to specific stones or hills. Skeptics might dismiss these beliefs as superstition, but for Icelanders, they represent something deeper, a connection to the land and a respect for its mysteries. The harsh environment has always demanded humility, and folklore offers a way to explain the unexplainable while fostering a sense of wonder. Elves also enrich Iceland's cultural identity. Literature, music, and art often draw on these mythic traditions, linking modern Iceland to its Viking past. Even today, children grow up hearing tales of hidden people, much as children elsewhere might hear fairy tales. For visitors, learning about elves isn't just whimsical fun. It's a window into how Icelanders view their environment. In a land where lava flows meet glaciers and auroras dance in the night sky, perhaps it isn't so strange to believe that magical beings might be just around the corner. Iceland is a literary nation. Finally, one of Iceland's most impressive qualities is its passion for literature. The country has one of the highest rates of authors per capita in the world, and reading is a deeply ingrained part of the culture. The Icelandic sagas, epic tales of Viking heroes, feuds, and journeys, remain foundational to world literature, offering some of the earliest examples of narrative. In modern times, Icelanders have continued this tradition. It's said that 1 in 10 Icelanders will publish a book in their lifetime, a staggering statistic compared to most countries. This culture of storytelling is supported by robust libraries, government grants for writers, and a population that values reading as a form of entertainment and identity. One unique tradition is Jólabókaflóðið, or the Christmas book flood. Every December, Icelanders give books to one another as Christmas gifts, and families spend Christmas Eve reading together. Publishers release most new books in time for the holiday season, making bookstores in Reykjavik especially magical in the weeks leading up to Christmas. Language plays a role in this literary devotion. Icelandic has changed very little since medieval times, meaning modern readers can still read the sagas in their original form. The preservation of language and literature reflects the nation's emphasis on cultural continuity. For visitors, literature is everywhere in Iceland. From the sagas etched into stone monuments to the modern writers featured at Reykjavik's UNESCO City of Literature festivals, storytelling feels like the heartbeat of the nation. In a country where winters are long and dark, perhaps it's not surprising that people have always turned to stories to make sense of their world. Thanks for joining me on this fun exploration of Iceland. If you enjoyed these facts, don't forget to follow for more exciting content.